First of all, I'm probably the only West Point grad here
No.
that I'm aware of. It seems like there's a lot of naval grads, which is great. We're only on the other side of the table once a year. And so right now, we're brothers in arms. We are trained leaders. Some of us trained actually in combat or in crisis. And our country needs us right now to step up. My focus is CEO founders or founder CEOs of small businesses. Largest business I've ever helped is probably, they exited at about a little over $100 million. So that's my sweet spot. I was in corporate America. I don't like it. And I do love working with founder CEOs. And my sweet spot is people like you, military vets, officers, and particularly academy grads. I have a equal mix of West Pointers, USAFA grads, naval grads, and we've had a few coasties drop in every once in a while. So you probably read my bio. You know that I was an entrepreneur. I started, launched, and sold 4 companies. The last company sold December of 2012. I took 8 months to figure out what was next, and what it was next is what I'm doing now. So I launched an acceleration company for founder CEOs. How do you accelerate your business and your life to a 10x level concurrently at the same time? And you would think that I knew how to do that when perhaps I was your age. I didn't. And so I've put together a smattering of successes I might have had and a ton of failures. And I've knit that all together into an acceleration program. What I'm going to give you today, and we've probably worked with 1,000 founder CEOs since 2014, and we currently have probably about 70 in the stable right now. What I'm going to talk about tonight, I hope generates some action on your part, or maybe some questions to me. But it's what we started working on in our programs about a month ago. I wouldn't say I'm so smart that I knew this was coming, but we smelled something. We feel like we're a vulnerable specialty, meaning we're one of the first things that, you know, our members would potentially ditch as they, you know, needed to lighten up the ship or whatever so it wouldn't go down. And so we started amping up our value when we thought perhaps things were changing. What I'm going to talk to you about is 2 concepts and 5 principles. The concepts are safe haven and supercharge. I believe right now there's a lot of people sitting on the couch. I just talked to one badass leader today who's frozen like a deer in the headlights. I told Mike that if I could jump through the Zoom screen, I'd slap him in the face. I said, your company needs you to step up right now. Your community needs it, your customers need it, and what you're doing is going out back and building a fence in the pasture because you're just pissed off and you can't control things, and that's just not okay. It's no bueno. And so what I'm going to propose to you is 2 concepts, safe haven, supercharge, and then I'm going to break it down for you. Safe haven is divided into 3 things: yourself, your team, and your finances. Now, everything that I'm going to tell you, you already know. You guys are badasses. I don't know if there's any gals on here, but they don't mind to be called badasses. My whole team is women, and they're very badass, so they don't mind that. But everything here you either know or you could teach. You could replace me and do it better than me. But sometimes you need to hear it from somebody on the outside. I know leaders, badass leaders, who have stopped exercising, who have stopped eating well, who have stopped sleeping well, and you know, have lost their whole morning routines when they kind of got centered. That's not okay. You can do that for a day or 2. I'm sure many of you have been in combat. I wasn't. There were no wars when I served. So unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but I mean, that's what I was trained for, right? But all of you know that at some point, you've got to take care of yourself. And I see a lot of leaders not doing that. So self-care, absolutely top of the game. So you bring your game when you step onto the stage. One of the things that we taught recently over the last 2 weeks, for those of you who may have a significant other or a spouse in your life, is 2 things that I would prescribe to you. So I'm a guy who prescribes things. Here's my, anybody know Strength Finders? Well, this is the mug that Scott Mackey's sent me. He said, oh my gosh, you only have one strength and it's command. So I'm going to boss you around. Who the hell am I to boss you around? Nobody. But I'm still going to prescribe things. I'm going to prescribe to you. And if you want the resources, everything that I talk about to you tonight is totally free. All you got to do is somehow ping me, ask Jason, whatever. I'll send you out whatever you want. But we always have, I'm an Army engineer. I always have a worksheet and I always have a process. So the 2 worksheets that we created recently, one came from the 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And the other came from John Gottman, his book, 8 Dates. So we now have our members on 2 dates per quarter through the crisis. It's called 8 Dates. They're very structured. They're very helpful. And for your spouses, they're probably very meaningful, especially if it's a she spouse, a wife who's at home with kids, trying to hold down her career, and we're all homeschooling and it's chaos. So 5 love languages is, we share 5 love languages and how we feel loved. And it's wise for you to know how your spouse feels loved, because you're loving her the way you want to be loved and she's not feeling it. That's why after 10 years, I had an ex-wife who said, you don't love me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm loving you every day. No, I wasn't. And then there's a worksheet we have called the OST sheet. Jason may remember this, or it might have gone right over his head. He doesn't have any children that he knows of that I remember you mentioning, Jason. Anyway, it's called the One Special Thing. And so for those of you who have kids at home who are, say, above the age of maybe 4 to even when they roll their eyes, teenagers, 18, the One Special Thing is an event. Now, I used to do events like go places. But now you got to do events that are meaningful to them, pull them aside, engage, and have a one special thing. So right there, we took care of you. We took care of the key relationship in your life, your spouse, and we took care of your kids, the people you tell me are most important things in your life. You take a bullet for them. And so what I want you to do is not take a bullet. I want you to take time, take focus, be intentional. So that's number 1. Number 2, safe haven for your team. Here's what I'm going to recommend. You do a sanity, self, and health check when you enter a meeting and anytime you have a conversation with one of your team members. What do you say? Hey, how are you doing and how's your loved ones doing physically? Are you healthy? Oh yeah, we're healthy. How are you doing mentally? Your stress, your worry, anxiety. Give me a Roman Empire, you know. We're good. Oh, not so good. How are you doing relationally with the people you love that you're now trapped in the house with? There's no break. And how are you doing financially? Ask your team members that. Be real, be authentic, and get to know where the hell they are right now in their life, because there's a lot of people who don't handle stress like you do. I'm sure a lot of you have been trained. You've been trained at the best institutions of leadership, and you've handled high stress and anxious situations that most people would fold in, but you didn't, but they will. And for them, this is the tsunami of stress, worry, and anxiety. Let them be real with you. I'll recommend to you, some of you who had offices had open door policy. Why not have open Zoom policy? Hey, I'll be available on this Zoom link between this and this. Maybe it's twice a day. Maybe it's 3 times a week. Let people show up and ask you questions. If you need your chief of staff there or your VA, have them sitting there too. But give people the chance to talk to you just like they used to in your physical office. I do a hit by the bus plan. I really, if you don't have defined job scorecards for your team, you should right now. And then you need to know, well, what happens if Brittany gets COVID and she's out for 2 weeks? hit by a bus plan. It's a template. I got it. You can have it. Have them fill it out. And then lay that out so that everybody knows what the contingency plans are, because what you don't want is to have Brittany call you and say, hey, I'm in the hospital, can't show up, don't know when I'll be back. And then everybody's like, now what? Some of you may have that, but a lot of you who are born, from the garage entrepreneurs who built this thing on your own, you haven't quite gotten there yet. And so you're the control person, and you haven't thought through the contingency plans. Write this down, engagementmultiplier.com. Employee engagement has been low. Depending on who you look at, Gallup or whoever else, between 68 and 82% of our employees are what we call low engaged, and you're paying for it. And you need them now high engaged, and now they're remote, so they're even more unengaged or disengaged. Engagement multiplier is the way for you to assess the engagement level of your team, your remote team. It's easy, they'll like it, it's online, it gives you a score, and it tells you where you can fix things. And right now, they made that, we've been using it for years, but they made it free about 2 weeks ago. So those of you who use it know it went free for new signups. You can get it for 90 days, engagementmultiplier.com. And the last thing, if you need any tips, any tricks, I've been a virtual company since 2014. The Lion's Pride, this thing that I'm talking from, we've been remote. We're global, and we have a remote workforce. We have daily meetings, weekly meetings, monthly, blah, blah, blah. We got the whole thing. And we've put all those structural, how do you run a badass virtual workplace up on our situation room, and you can have it all. You may be doing that great, but Jason just said, hey, I wish I knew how to run Zoom better. Jason, we'll help you. And so we can help you build a badass thing. What's the third part of Safe Haven? Your freaking cash. Now, we all know that the stimulus money dried up last night. And some of us didn't get it, and some of us did. Doesn't matter. We still need to create runway, and we need to know what that runway is for our cash. Now, some of us are in big trouble. I was working with Allie today. 3 of her 4 restaurants are shut down, and her 4th restaurant is on a skeleton crew delivering takeout and delivery. She's barely making it, but her PPP money and her idle money landed in the bank account this afternoon. Good for her. So her homework is, what's her runway? That's what I asked her. What's your runway? She said, I don't know. Go figure it out. All right? We want to know on a daily basis what your runway is. I get a Slack notice. We use a tool called Slack for communication. I get a daily automated update from my financial team, 5 questions, and it tells me exactly where we are and where we're headed in the next week. Now, how do I know where we're going to be in the next 90 days? Use this tool. It's totally free. Cashstory.com. Cashstory.com. You can input your historical data in your finances, and then you can use what-if tools to look at, well, what happens if I don't collect these receivables? What happens if I lose 3 major customers? What happens if this contract isn't signed? What happens if I don't get my stimulus money? The tool is free for the next 90 days. There's a lot of great tutorials there. If you're doing your own financials, shame on you, but if that's the way it is, then you can get tutored on it. If you've got a bookkeeping team or a CFO or whatever, and they're not using this, they should be using this. And then what you can get is I think daily is too frequent unless you have a very dynamic company and cash flow. I would suggest that you use a weekly report. So your CFO or you grab the cash story, say before your weekly tactical. We share it with our team. So we have transparent, we subscribe to Jack Stack's Open Book Management. And so we share that with our team on our Monday tactical. So that covers Safe Haven. What we've done right now is we have made damn sure that regardless of how bad this thing gets, we're going to make it and we're going to survive. And that's what I want all of you to commit to. This ain't pretty. Matter of fact, for some of you, it's ugly. We didn't ask for it. It's not fair. Wasn't what we planned on. It is what it is. This is the battlefield. So let's deal with it. Now, the second part that I told you is supercharge. This thing will end. Some companies are going to go out of business, and some companies are going to kind of idle in place and then start accelerating when the light switch goes back on, or whatever that thing is they're talking about to reopen the economy. Whatever that is for your industry, your customers, and your company, what I want you to be doing right now is preparing for that light switch and leaving your competitors in the dust. They're either going to go out of business or they're going to be so caught that you're going to eat them up. How do you do that? Number one, right now, you lock in your revenue. If you don't have a list right in front, here's my list right here, this side. These are the people I had to call today. Some of them are vendors, and most of them are members or customers. How are you doing? How can I help? That's all I ask. I don't ask, hey, are you going to pay that invoice? Hey, are you going to renew your membership or whatever? I'm saying, how are you doing? Sanity, self, and health check. And how can I help? And what I want to know is what is the number one problem that I can solve for them? And would they be willing to pay for that? Or would they agree to pay the invoice they already owe me if I gave them that? And then I want to fire my team up and I want to go solve that problem. No one will forget how you act right now. No one. All right? My Bank of America has given me the crap since we submitted our PPP and our EIDL loan. They did the PPP, the SBA did the EIDL, but 3 weeks ago. First Republic, little teeny bank that we've been banking with, had a little smattering of a business. They funded our PPP a week ago. Bank of America is still telling us that they're getting to it. Well, the money ran out last night. Guess who's not going to have my business banking in about a month? Bank of America. I won't forget. Neither will your customers. So help them out. Be a problem solver. Challenge your team to drive that value so that they stick with you forever. And help, help, help. Now that'll lead you to the second part, which for me is the most exciting. Now, if you haven't used these tools, I want you to, please. One is AJ Lafley's book called Play to Win. We've turned it into a worksheet that walks you through the strategic thinking of your playing field and how can you win and where are your customers. He was the CEO of P&G for years, but he came up with this framework, this thinking and doing framework that really, really works. And it feeds into, I don't know if, I can't see like a show of hands, but the Ansoff matrix, which none of this I invented. I just curate this stuff. But the Ansoff, ANSOFF matrix, if you want the worksheet, we'll give it to you. All right? Existing products, new products, existing markets, new products. All of you are probably selling existing products to existing markets, and that probably has dropped off if you're like me. So can I sell existing products to new markets? Can I sell new products to existing markets? Can I sell new products to new markets? This is the exercise that you and your team need to be going through. And our members, most members have finished that exercise about a week ago. And some of them have already deployed either new markets or new products. Matter of fact, one of them is in the cannabis space, and he's added coffee. For some reason, coffee made sense in their discussions with their current customers. I can't tell you the detail, but now we got cannabis and coffee going on in this one company, and they're selling the crap out of coffee. All right, who knew, right? And I said, well, why don't you call the coffee shops and sell cannabis? I mean, well, that doesn't work that way. It's easier to get a coffee license, I guess, than a cannabis license. But anyway, Ansoff, Play to Win. And here's what we leaders do. We military trained leaders. Some of you might be pilots. My Air Force Academy fighter pilot people understand this way better than I do. Pivot. The OODA loop. Or what is it? Orient, observe, decide and analyze, or that thing that Jack Boyd taught years ago. That's what we need to be doing. None of us know where we're going to be in the end of the year. Nobody knows where we're going to be actually in the end of 90 days. But we sure can damn well figure out where we're going to be at the end of tomorrow and probably the end of the week. And that's about as close as we get. But what the Ansoff matrix and the play to win strategies do is they guide us more towards making informed decisions. I think I'm going to shut up, but I'm going to say this. What I tell everybody that'll listen to me, and I forced you to listen to me because it was a one-way talk until I take questions, or you can beat me up or yell at me or whatever you want, is that for those of you in the Navy, you know what the Marines on the beach are? I don't. I never was on the beach, and I never was a Marine, but I sure damn well respect them. But they're first in. And for us, we have the Rangers, we have the infantry. We're first in the battle. And so here's what I want to say. Everyone on this call, I want you to commit to be the first into the economy, because the research shows that we employ more people. If you're a small business, there's nothing wrong with corporate America. If you're a corporate exec, good for you. I was in corporate America for 8 years. It's awesome. It wasn't awesome enough for me, but thank you for your contribution and your service. But for you small business owners, tactically on the ground, employing 5 people, 10 people, 50 people, whatever it is, we're going to be the ones that are going to turn this economy around whenever it happens, and we should damn well be doing it right now, whatever that is. And I will not accept, all right, whimpering and whining and idling and all this other crap that's going on, all right? We got to find a way to survive, and we got to find a way to thrive through this. And these tools that I'm giving you and the framework, the sanity and supercharge, the safe haven and supercharge, are the way that you assure your survival, and then you better assure your acceleration back into your industry and take ground, or I guess in the Navy, you take water. I don't know, what do you do? What do you do, Jason? You take something. I was following the Roosevelt thing, and I was really fascinated to see all those things on the news, anyway, I don't know anything about that. So anyway, I'm going to shut up. I want to give you help. Everything I just told you, I'll make available to you if you like it. If you don't, Jason, you can ditch me off your Zoom call by pushing that button, send Bill to the ozone or the whirlwind.
Bottom of the ocean.
All I'm going to say for now, I'm going to grab my whiskey and shut up.
And that's why he's here. Bill Watkins, everybody.